Hello once again, NASCAR fans. You're listening to the NASCAR show here on The Grueling Truth. I'm your host, Alex Gray, along here with Steve Risley to talk about the Food City 500 at Bristol. Kyle Busch gets another win. He is absolutely on fire across all three circuits, it feels like. Finishing second is his brother, Kurt Busch, who jokingly said he tried to wreck him at the end of the race. Finishing up the top 10, we got Joey Logano, Ryan Blaney, Denny Hamlin, Paul Menard, Clint Bowyer, Daniel Suarez, Ryan Newman, and Jimmy Johnson. This race was a little interesting, a little crazy, I would say. Steve, what do you think?
Well, you know, for what the first thing I think is what scared me to death is how empty the stands were. I mean, this is a track where you used to have to get on a waiting list to get tickets to. You know, I remember some 20 years ago, we got a dog, and you know, we were sponsoring Viagra Car at that point in time. I think we've told this story before, but you know, the guy said he'd take half price for the dog if I could get him 2 tickets to Bristol. And you know, I called our people in New York and got us 2 tickets for him to track, and now it's like, good golly, Miss Molly, there was nobody there. Did you notice that?
Yeah, apparently Bob Pockris left a statement here from Bristol Motor Speedway. This was a statement from last month on not selling seats in the turns. It says, quote, Bristol Motor Speedway is optimizing the stadium configuration for the spring race only and will take a more front and backstretch approach. Our spring race seating arrangement is designed to allow us to use our resources to create a more energetic atmosphere with the new Bristol Motor Speedway Fun Squad ambassadors handing out prizes and revving up the crowd during cautions and stage breaks. We're also introducing half-mile hangout lounges in those concourse areas that will feature comfortable seating, free Wi-Fi charging stations, game and craft beer selections. We believe that this change at the NASCAR Spring Race will enhance the overall stadium experience for all who attend. So that is the explanation to why there was nobody in the corner seats.
So what it really means is they couldn't sell the tickets.
Yeah, I went to that track
let's be honest about it. Let's call it what it is. Come on.
Yeah, I went to the track.
They would have sold every seat they had if they could have sold them. Trust me.
Yeah, I went to the track I went there back in August of 2005, and I remember I got like a picture collage. I remember the place was packed. One section of the turn before the race had Thanks Rusty, which was pretty cool for Rusty Wallace on his last season. So, you know, just compare that to now. I don't know what the problem has been. You know, Bristol's been a iconic track on the schedule. I just hope more people can come in the future.
Yeah, I think it's something NASCAR's got to figure out, their saturation of television and how much they're putting on television. But I think they're probably making more money off TV than they are off of fans in the stands. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not in their corporate offices, so I don't know what they're doing. But it doesn't look good. And that was the very first thing I noticed when watching the pre-race ceremonies. I'm like, okay, is everybody just out getting Martinsville hot dogs? Well, wait, we're not at Martinsville. They can't be getting Martinsville hot dogs at Bristol. So something's going on here. Yeah, there's a problem here, and it's you know, I don't know what it is. And it's just sad. It's really sad because it was a great race. It's a great venue, and I've been there one time. It is like watching a college football game. You're so close to it. You smell it, you feel it, you hear it, and you're right on top of it, and you can see everything. And it's unfortunate that more NASCAR fans aren't showing up to places, especially venues like Bristol, which is, you know, short track racing is probably the root of NASCAR, I would guess. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about the race. Chase Elliott gets the pole, starts off. He gets caught up in a wreck early on. He had a dominant car early on. I mean, I think you and I texted back and forth at the start of the race, and I mean, he was kind of pulling away from people. And then he gets banged up by the lap traffic and gets spun out. And then apparently his tire steering goes out a little bit. And I don't think I don't know if they even had him on post-race. I don't know if he even came on post-race. I think they said they were talking about relief drivers because he was so tired from trying to fight that car without having the power steering working. But that's short track racing at its finest. There you go. That's what it is. It's kind of like the super speedway.
And he ended up finishing in 11th, so it wasn't too bad, say.
Yeah, he came back, but the Chevys finally made some kind of push that they looked like they could compete. Would you agree for the first time that the Chevys looked? We had Jimmy Johnson up there, we had Byron up there, we had Elliott up there, we had Kyle Busch. What?
Yeah, I think Chevy's starting to figure it out. Jimmy Johnson's also been looking better. 5th at Texas, 10th at Bristol. Kurt Busch, to me, has been really, really good. He was my pick to win. I came super close, finishing 2nd. He was very strong. He won the race here back in the fall. I think Chevy's starting to slowly figure it out now. So.
Yeah, I'm just amazed at how the aero packages are not favoring the Camaros, and NASCAR's not doing something to make them more competitive. Because this is a short track where I think, am I right to say that aero probably doesn't matter as much on short tracks as it does on the mile and a half and the big tracks?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we run into the problem with my pick of the race was Kevin Harvick, who I thought would come back with a vengeance. And talk about that. What happened with Kevin Harvick? What happened there? 3 times he failed inspection, I guess.
Yeah, he failed inspection 3 times, according to Bob Pockrass. He failed 3 previous times, and it wasn't just one area of inspection. Engineer got ejected, and he had to start from the rear, and had a pass-through penalty at the start of the race, which can be a massive setback, especially at a place like Bristol.
Oh, you're 2 laps down immediately. Yeah, you're immediately 2 laps down, at least.
Mm-hmm. Although, to compare that, when I was there in 2005, I remember Dale Earnhardt Jr. started 41st. He was lapped 3 times and got the lead lap back, finished 8th that night. Even got involved in a... Go
ahead. I'm sorry.
No. Oh, no, go ahead. I was adding on something, but go ahead.
Well, Harvick ended up finishing 13th. I mean, he made his way back, which tells me he had a good piece of equipment and he had a good car. But how do you go from passing qualifying inspection, because the car's got to go through qualifying inspection as well, correct?
Yeah.
And then how do you go from going from qualifying inspection and then going to pre-race inspection and failing 3 times? What causes something like that to happen?
That's something I've always been asking myself, especially in recent years. Like, how does a car change so much or change slightly to where it can't succeed through inspection? And that's just something I've always asked, and it escapes me. But NASCAR is really technical with things. They're very, things are very detailed now with how the cars, the cars are kind of all the same with the Gen 6 model. And I think that may have to play a factor that, all the cars are the same, especially when you have the car tomorrow.
Here's another question for you. Has NASCAR gotten too technical? And, I mean, have they just gotten so engineering-based that, that it's like this is crazy, that a guy, can run as good as he did, because he was the fastest car on the long lap runs in practice. They were all talking about it. Gordon and Waltrip and Mike Joy were all saying, the 4 car is the best car on the long runs. And it seems the way they're parading these cars this year, long runs are more critical than short runs. So people want to set your car up for a long run. But is NASCAR just getting too technical with things and getting too engineering oriented and not letting these guys just go out and rub and race?
That's definitely possible because, again, I think that me and my dad have always had this discussion, how the cars pretty much are the same. And I'm kind of hoping maybe they can take a step back when the Gen 7 car launches. I do think maybe things have gotten a little too technical. There will always be certain specifications that you certainly need. So I think things have just gotten a little. Yeah, I think things have gotten maybe a little too technical.
Yeah, I think it would probably be better for the sport, and you and I are just fans as much as anything, and we watch every race, and we love it, and we're not engineers or anything like that, but it just feels to me like the engineers have taken over the sport, kind of what's happened in IndyCar and what's happened in Formula One. And the great thing about NASCAR was it was always the personality and the driver that dominated the sport. And I don't know if that's a reason maybe why you're not seeing so many fans in the stands anymore. I don't know. But, it concerns me for the sport. They just don't let them get back to just banging each other, rubbing fenders, getting on each other's bumpers, pushing each other out of the way. And, let's have at it, boys. That old story that goes on. So I don't know. We'll see. I mean, I thought it was a fairly mundane race. There were some incidents that occurred, but truthfully, from what I expect out of Bristol, is where people are banging and bumping on each other the entire race, and they're rubbing nose to nose, and they're rubbing, fender to fender. They're cutting tires. They're using their splitters to cut other tires, and I just didn't see that really happening today. I thought it was just another. I don't want to say it's a parade because it's not long enough to be a parade because you're always turning left. But I just thought I wanted more action out of this race than we got out of. I thought this would be the first great race of the year, really, truthfully, because I love Bristol. Bristol's is one of the 2 or 3 greatest tracks on the NASCAR circuit. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, Bristol to me is, as I said earlier, very iconic venue. I was, from everything I've seen, there seemed to be a lot of guys who had penalties, and I've seen quite a few guys who had some loose wheels. I thought the race was rather interesting. Especially, I couldn't help but get a chuckle out of the Stage 1 winner. It was Ty Dillon on a pit strategy, and he managed to edge out Clint Boyer by about a nail. I was like, I literally tweeted out, "Well, hello, Ty Dillon." He ended up finishing 15th too for Jermaine Racing, right behind his brother Austin. So good run for him in that race team. Something Ty certainly need. So and Clint Boyer finally, I thought, had a great race. I think he finished 7th in the race. But he was running up front all day long. He's a short track racer. He's got the mentality to run in that kind of environment. Yeah, he'll rub and race you all you want to, and he'll have fun with you, and don't take it personally. But the fun of the day was the Busch brothers. They were being nice to each other, I thought, at the end of the race. Did you think that too? Yeah, I mean, Kurt Busch made the comments like, I was thinking about wrecking him, which I thought was pretty funny. Obviously, that would be funny if Kurt Busch actually tried to do something like that on his brother. But those are 2 kids that got to sit down at Christmas dinner and sit across the table from each other in Las Vegas when they go home for Christmas dinner. So they've got to look at each other. So I think they were, but I thought that was an interesting story. But Kyle Busch still continues to be the most dominant driver in NASCAR, and I don't know that anybody's even close to him, truthfully. Is there anybody? Oh, geez, yeah. As I said earlier, I think it's Gibbs versus Penske. Honestly, I firmly believe at this point, most likely, I think Kyle Busch is going to end 2019 as a 2-time Cup champion because, you see it from the Xfinity and truck races. It's the same way. He's just so dominant this year, more than ever before. I feel like it's almost like as if he's unbeatable.
Yeah, well, and you got Hamlin, you got the JGR cars. You got Hamlin finishes 5th. Suarez is driving. He's with Stuart Haas. Who else is in the JGR camp?
You got Kyle Busch, Eric Jones, and Martin Truex.
Eric Jones. Yeah, Eric Jones had some engine problems and stuff like that, and had some stuff going on with his car, so he couldn't get there. But the other one that's standing out real right now is who's surprising me for a sophomore season after what he did last year, Joey Logano. Guy's running strong. I mean, he's competitive every race now, all of a sudden.
Definitely. Yeah, I think Logano's definitely going to be a threat to win another championship this year. Like I said, Penske's been good. Ryan Blaney had a really good race, too. He ended up
finished fourth.
So, Keselowski, I knew he was up there. He kind of dropped back to 18th. Kyle Larson didn't really have that much of a good day, finishing in 19th. I'm starting to express a little concern for him, although Kurt Busch has been the opposite. He's been pretty strong so far this season.
Well, I think that was a good move for Ganassi Racing to bring him on board. He runs that car very hard, runs strong. You know, he's in a one-year deal. It's live or die for him this year. He's got to, make a name for himself. But but Chevy finished second. Finally, we got somebody in the top 2 or 3 spots out of Chevy. Fords continue to dominate. The Mustangs continue to dominate. Toyota wins, but I think that's Kyle Busch. Toyotas are dominating because Kyle Busch and Hamlin and JGR are running up front. But I think Ford is the best car. Boyer, Suarez, Newman. Ryan Newman had a good race.
Yeah, Newman.
He had Newman's a great race for him. Yeah.
Yeah,
he was a good get for RHR.
Jack.
Whoever it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so far he's been a pretty good help and a pretty good addition to Roush Fenway Racing. There have been times he's been up there, in the top 15, top 10. Stenhouse has kind of shown a little bit of a light as well. So, yeah.
And we've seen a little bit of a resurgence out of Jimmy Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
He qualified well. He finished 10th. He's running well again. I think he was the top finishing Hendrick car, wasn't he? I think Elliott was 11th. And I don't think there's no Chevy. Yeah, he was the top Hendrick car, which hadn't happened in a while for him. Usually it's been Elliott or even William Byron, but everybody else fell below him. But should we expect something out of Jimmy Johnson coming up here soon?
I think it's certainly possible, the way he's been going. Again, Texas, he ran relatively pretty well, led pretty good amount of laps. I think he can go into Richmond and have another good race and perhaps go into Talladega in those next races and see if he can grab a win at some point, help him towards the playoffs.
Talladega's a crapshoot. We all know that. But that's the funnest race of the year is Talladega, though.
Who knows? Maybe
about that?
Maybe Ty Dillon ends up winning that race, and that playoff point he got could actually help him get into the playoffs.
Yeah, there you go. Kyle Larson, I think he's a disappointment. He finished 19th. I mean, a lot of hype and talk about this guy, but, he finished a lap down. He was running, but he wasn't fairly competitive. I don't know that he's been really competitive. I mean, he runs up front for short periods of time. What's going on with Kyle Larson?
I'm not really sure. He currently sits 14 good points. I'm kind of surprised that Larson struggled. It's still kind of early. But, he had such a great 2017. And 2018 was more quiet, but he was pretty competitive, nearly won a couple of races, notably last year's Food City 500 and Chicagoland last year in that incredible finish. Things are still early, but, Larson hasn't even popped into the top 5 yet, according to the standings here. So,
yeah,
especially that Kurt Busch has been strong. He's 8th in points. I can't really explain what's going on with Kyle Larson right now.
Yeah, he took over, and Busch took over the one car from McMurray. So, basically, I would think the better equipment at that point was going to Larson, if there is better equipment at that point in time. But is it concerning to you that there's only really 2 teams right now that are winning races? We got JGR and we got Penske, and really, and we got some Stewart-Haas racing that's competitive. We don't really have Hendrick in the sport. None of the lower level teams are even getting close now. What's your thoughts on that?
I think NASCAR certainly has their biggest powerhouse of teams, kind of like their, power, whatever number sort of teams like you see in like maybe the power conferences and NCAA and certain teams that you always know are good in like the NFL and MLB. Here you got, Gibbs, Penske, Stewart-Haas, Hendrick, and trying to think who else, and probably Ganassi and maybe RCR. That's kind of like your power teams right there.
Yeah. I'm getting a little concerned that it's like the wins are only being spread out over two or three teams at most. I think are there 4 teams that have won a race yet, or is it just the top 3? I haven't looked at that closely, but I know that. I don't think anybody below the top 3 teams have won a race yet, have they? I mean, you don't even have you have Martin Truex Jr. isn't even really. He finished 17th. And he hasn't really been competitive at all this year. Now, I know he's adapting to a new team. I get that. But all the wins are coming up with the top 2 or 3 teams, and they're piling up with, I don't know how long it's been since I've seen so many multiple winners this early in the season. So many of them. I know there's always one that blows it out, but we've got a bunch of guys that have won 2 or 3 races now.
Yeah, the only guy underneath the top 3 is Keselowski, and he's got 2 wins.
Yeah. So, all right. Let's see. Let's talk a little bit about Bubba Wallace. And I love this guy. I think he's great for the sport in many ways. He's in probably crap equipment. I think Petty is probably more of a ceremonial team than they are a functional team, would be my guess. What would Bubba Wallace need to do? Who should Bubba Wallace be moving toward and looking to align himself? Because I think he's a good driver. I mean, he drives hard. I love the way he races. He races hard. He'll rub you. But I just think he's in such inefficient equipment that he can't compete.
Yeah, I mean, I always felt like from the get-go when he drove for Joe Gibbs / Kyle Busch in the Truck Series that, Bubba was really good. He drove the 6 for Roush, which, Roush wasn't as strong and fast. And he still pushed that equipment until the team had to shut down in the middle of 2017. Even still, he pushes this equipment with Richard Petty. To show where he's finished. He finished 20th this weekend. Current finishes 30th at Daytona, 27th at Atlanta, Las Vegas 26th, 22nd at Phoenix, 30th at Fontana, Martinsville 17th, 23rd at Texas, and 20th at Bristol.
Well, and that's his equipment. I don't think it's his driving skill. I think it's his equipment.
Yeah.
Alex Bowman, another guy who's kind of been disappointing, I think, for Hendrick. He finished 23rd in this race, not really putting the numbers on the board that you would think that they would have with the 88 car.
Yeah, I'm kind of waiting for him to break out still. I think he had proved himself when he substituted for Dale Jr. in 2016 that he definitely belonged in that ride after Jr. retired. But, I'm still kind of waiting for him to get that win and basically get him going.
I think that he's got to have the same equipment as Elliott and Johnson and Byron, but he's continually just not producing the numbers that I think Hendrick would be impressed with, and maybe that's a move that is going to come up. I don't know. I mean, like I said, I'm not a personnel director for Hendrick Motorsports, but I think Bubba Wallace and Hendrick Carr would be a really great move. You'd love to see that someday if it comes up. So,
yeah, I think Bubba would do very well in Hendrick equipment.
Yeah, I think he would too. So, what else about this race? What excited you about today's race?
I love short track racing. I love the 2 groups where a lot of people would run the high line and get an advantage from that. Some people will run the low line. Chevy still showing improvement. Another great result for Daniel Suarez as well, finishing in 8th. Matt DiBenedetto got 12th, so that's a pretty good finish for him.
He ran strong all day long. He ran strong all day long, too, yeah.
He really did.
Yeah, he did. Yeah,
and
good
of course,
for him.
Ty Dillon winning stage 1 was something different and something pretty cool. So.
Yeah, well, it finally made the what do we call it? What the hell? What do we call the things where they run in segments? The segment racing. What's it called?
Yeah, stage racing. You know what?
Yeah.
I kind of have more of a liking, or like I have a little bit more respect for stage racing because of what happened in stage 1. When you get those odd,
exactly.
It's like, oh, Ty Dillon, hey, got a playoff point. That could mean something later on. You never know.
Yeah, I mean, because you got so few teams winning races this year, points are going to matter. I don't know that you're going to get in a situation where you're only going to have 1 or 2 spots open for points. Drivers getting in. I think you're going to end up with probably 5 or 6 guys, 7, 8 guys. And there's going to be a lot of spots that are going to be left up to the points, and stage racing right now is very important. So good call on that one, exactly. So there you go. Okay, so Kyle Busch, how dominant is he?
I think he's best driver of this time right now. I think he's utterly dominant and has shown that, I think he can win the championship again this year. I think he's probably the most dominant driver right now.
Agreed. Where do we go next week? We go to Richmond? No, we don't go to Richmond. Where do we go next week? We go to
Richmond, yeah. We go to Richmond.
We go to Richmond. Okay. Talk about Richmond.
All right, so Richmond, once again, another short track. So, again, the Chevys could continue to build some momentum here. Perhaps Chase Elliott can be a favorite, but I also know I can feel a Penske driver winning this race. But, again, we'll discuss that more on Wednesday. Looking forward to seeing what happens here at Richmond. But, you had Keselowski at Martinsville. You had Kyle Busch here. So maybe we get a first-time winner at Richmond of the season. We'll just have to wait and see.
There you go. Anything else?
I think that's about it. No penalties.
Let's wrap it up till Wednesday. We'll look for penalties. No. I mean, other than Harvick, I don't know if any penalties are going to come out tomorrow night or not. But we'll see what happens tomorrow. But let's see what happens.
All right, sounds good. Well, guys, thank you so much for listening into the show. Congratulations to Kyle Busch. I believe that's his 54th career win, by the way, for him driving that number 18 Skittles. Yeah, it's only a matter of time until he catches Dale. So, with all that, thank you guys so much for listening. From Steve Risley and myself, Alex Gray, you're listening to The Grueling Truth, where legends speak. See you next time.